I find that when I want to grow my business, when I want a different result, I have to do something differently. And a lot of times that involves an investment of, if not money, of my time and energy. Welcome to Profit and Prosper, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to make some money while doing what they love. On this podcast, we're going to pull back the curtain and talk about all things business and money, but I promise you this is not your typical boring numbers talk. I'm your host, Sarah Young, a CPA and CFO with over a decade of experience in finance, business, and leadership. I'm going to share everything I've learned from helping my clients grow more profitable businesses and keep more of what they earn while growing my own successful business along the way. You'll feel empowered and confident that you too can grow your wealth, live a rich life, and have an impact. Stick with me and you might even start to think that finance is fun. Let's dive in. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to episode 52 of the Profit and Prosper podcast. We are continuing our profitability series with episode 3 out of the 4-part series, and today's focus is going to be on creating profitable investments. We've talked about profitable offers and how that helps you create consistent cash flow in your business. Then the next episode we talked about profitable systems and how that helps you protect and de-risk your business. So now we're going to move on to stage 3. So you might have heard me say in the last 2 episodes, I see businesses as going through 4 stages. So creating that sustainable cash flow was stage 1, protecting your business is stage 2, and then stage 3 is growth. I really truly believe that if you want to grow your business, like I know probably most of you listening to this podcast do want to grow your business, you are going to have to make investments. And I'll also say, I think that making investments probably separates people who are going to stay self-employed or as a solopreneur from people who are going to create a business that they are the owner of. And I've talked about this idea in previous podcast episodes, but basically, when we start a business, we are self-employed, meaning we've created a job for ourselves. If we stop working, then the money stops coming in. My goal for my business and for most of my clients, if not all my clients, is to get to a place where they are the business owner, meaning they have a business that can run without them, that, they don't have to be there to stir the pot day in and day out, and them being able to create cash flow is not attached to the time that they spend in their business. Not that they don't have to spend time in their business, but the business can run whether they show up every day or not. And I think to get from being a solopreneur or self-employed to being a business owner, it definitely takes investments of some sort. And I'll say this too, you don't have to get out of the solopreneur stage. If you are happy being a solopreneur, if you're happy being sort of a freelance self-employed person, that is totally fine. And maybe you make some investments into making your systems and processes as smooth and efficient and profitable as possible. And then beyond that, you take your extra cash that you generate and put it into personal assets like retirement plans or real estate so that you build wealth outside of your business. But for those of us who, for me, for example, my primary wealth vehicle is my business currently. If you look at my net worth, my husband and I would put our net worth around 7 figures. Half of that currently is in my business, and the rest would be split up between retirement, brokerage, cash, all this stuff. Anyways, if we want to grow our businesses, we have to make an investment. And I want to be clear because I work with a lot of clients who are sort of timid about making an investment of money. So before we talk about how to identify investment opportunities in your business, how to assess an investment's potential for profitability, how to track and manage your investments, I want to say, if you're not making an investment of money, you're making an investment of time or energy. So don't think that by not spending money on an investment that you're not investing, because you are. You are just making the choice to invest your time and your energy instead of your money. And so there's going to be a point in your business where I feel pretty confident that most of us will start to value your time and energy over money. And so for me, like I'm in a place where there's some things I definitely do on my own as I'm exploring how things work. But, for certain things, like I want to invest money because I am capped on how much time and energy I have. And that is more valuable to me than $100, $1,000, $10,000. Okay. So spending less of one resource, money, just means you are spending more of another. Just so you know that you're not alone in maybe being a little bit anxious or fearful about making investments. I recently had a client who we were doing a CFO intensive for. Our intensive is like our on-ramp to our CFO retainer services. And we do, for these clients, we do in a 60 to 90-day period, cleanup of all their systems, a profit assessment, benchmarking analysis, a tax assessment. We do a financial systems audit with recommendations. We do a financial plan, a forecast, a budget, help set goals, all that stuff. So I was going through this recently with a client who has about $2 million in revenue, and she was spending almost $1 million a year on payroll because that was her team. She has an agency model. And when I said, my main takeaway has been or was, we need to get good data around this payroll because this is obviously a huge expenditure for you. And I want to make sure that your team spending is, at the right level and that it is efficient and, producing as much revenue as is reasonably possible. And, to do that for her, she was going to need to make an investment to get better accounting software where we could do the project accounting. And then also upgrade her payroll systems because she was using this mom and pop payroll shop that everything was manual and they did not have good reporting. And she was hesitant to get more out of her $1 million, almost $1 million in payroll spend. She was hesitant to spend what would be maybe $5,000 a year on the software, on implementing things to track that team efficiency. And think about on $1 million in spend, how easy would it be to save more than $5,000, right? So this is what we're going to talk about in this episode is the framework for making investments. How do we identify them? How do we assess an investment's potential for profitability and then track and manage over time? So let's start with identifying investment opportunities. When should you make an investment? There's not like a hard and fast rule for when is the best time to make an investment into anything. But I think there's two sort of indicators that it's maybe a good time. Indicator number one would be if you see a gap or if you see an opportunity, meaning if I were to do X, then I would get 5X back. If I were to invest in this thing over here, I see an opportunity to get a good return on my money. You should probably make that investment. So there's one. Indicator number two is back to, if you want to grow your business, if you find that you are hitting a wall, if you need to try something different, if something's just not working, there's probably another sign that somewhere in there in your business processes, you need to make an investment to figure out a different way to do things. And I think that, it's just really important to focus on what is the right investment. And this changes depending on the season of business you're in. But I think that it can be really easy to get distracted and not want to focus on what actually is the problem. So I've talked about this in other podcast episodes before, but to identify where you should make an investment in your business, I really want you to step back and figure out, like I said, where is there either an opportunity or where is there a roadblock? So thinking through the different types of investments, thinking through how your business is currently running, where is there an opportunity to implement something new that would give you an amazing return? Or where is there a roadblock where if you got it unstuck, you could make more money? So I like to think about investments as a funnel. So if we think about the business funnel, right? Top of funnel all the way down to money landing in your pocket. Where is there an opportunity or where is there a roadblock? So if we start at the very top of funnel is really just about audience size, in my opinion, right? Like I'm not a marketing expert. I've just seen a lot of businesses make a lot of investments into sales and marketing. We think about top of funnel, it's audience size. Then if we go more towards the middle of your funnel, This is where we are nurturing people along the process, getting them, to know, like, and trust you, getting them to book a call or visit a sales page, trying to get them where you want them to go. Then bottom of funnel would be converting them to a paying customer, whether that is with a sales call, whether that is on a sales page, whatever it is, right? This, I think, comes down to having the right messaging, having the right clients coming to you in the first place, and having a really good value proposition. Then once you convert them to a customer, that's where the marketing funnel tends to stop. Once you convert them to a customer, we have to look at how you're delivering the product or service that they bought from you. So that is your delivery systems, quality control. What are the things you're including in your offers and what's not? Are you maintaining boundaries? Is your team doing the right things at the right time? Right? That is delivering the product or service to the client or customer. And then we have back-end systems. So that was where I put finance, HR, team management, IT, project management, stuff like that. Like, these are the things that you have to run your business in order to take the money you're making and put the money into your pocket, right? So finance, in my opinion, is really, it's more than just like getting your tax return done. If you listen to this podcast, you know this. It's having the right data to make decisions about where to go in your business, I think, is really key for finance, and managing your cash flow. Then we can't forget, like, when you're hiring people, to make sure that you have HR processes. So are you managing your team? Are you giving them feedback? Are you incentivizing them appropriately? When you think about where you should make an investment, think through each of those systems. And I want you to ask yourself, 1, where is there an opportunity to try something new in this area of my business that might work, that might give me a good return? Or where is there a roadblock? Where am I really stuck? Where are things not working? I think if you have something, if you have a place where you're getting stuck, focus there first. But if you do see a good opportunity, then, don't pass it up. I think that a lot of us can get distracted when I think about, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, delivery, and back end. I think a lot of people in this day and age with social media tend to focus heavily on top of funnel rather than looking at the rest of their processes. And so you think that you need to, post more on social media to grow your audience. You need to run ads to get more people in the door, right? And that may not be true. You may need to look at your conversions. You may need to just spend some more time nurturing them and encouraging them to book a call. You may need to focus on delivering a really high quality service, right? You may have back-end systems that are a mess. So don't get distracted by the shiny objects that I think a lot of us, I think, will focus on the audience growing because it's sexy and it's sort of fun to test that out. At least for me, it's pretty fun. But it may not actually be where you need to focus, and where you need to focus may not be as sexy, okay? So identify the investment opportunities or invest in an area where you have a roadblock. Are you ready to create a profitable business and use that cash flow as a fire starter for building your wealth? Since you're listening to my podcast, I'm guessing that you probably do, but maybe you aren't sure exactly how this would work for your business or if it's even possible for you. But listen, I am here to tell you that it is possible because I have worked with so many women business owners who have done exactly that. You can pay yourself a 6-figure CEO salary and get yourself out of the feast or famine cycle where you're worrying about cash flow all the time. You can create a profitable business model that allows you to outsource and delegate so you can take time off from your business while still growing to the next level. And you can use that cash flow to start building a 7-figure portfolio of retirement, real estate, or whatever else you're interested in. If you're an established online or service-based business owner who'd like some hands-on CFO support to increase your profit margins, build your business to the next level, and grow your net worth using that extra cash flow, then the Millionaire CEO Incubator is exactly for you. The Millionaire CEO Incubator is my signature 6-month group coaching and done-with-you hybrid program to help you map out and implement a plan to turn 6-figure cash flow into 7-figure wealth. We take on a handful of new clients each month by application. So if you're ready to change your money story, go to profitandprosper.co/apply or the link in the show notes and fill out the quick application. It should take no more than 2 minutes and we'll be in touch. Now let's get back to the episode. We want to also assess the potential for an investment's profitability. So to evaluate an investment, investments are inherently risky. There is risk. We don't know when we make an investment if it's going to pan out. And I see that stopping business owners, especially women business owners, all the time because they feel like, oh no, what if this fails? They have a scarcity mindset of, what if this fails and my whole business goes under and I'm a failure? And I certainly have that mindset sometimes too. You have to be aware of it and then ask yourself, can I feel the fear and can I do it anyway? I was recording a podcast episode a couple weeks ago, and the host, we were actually talking after we finished recording, and she gave me this quote, and it's from Babe Ruth. And she said, the quote was, "Yesterday's home runs won't win today's game." And I wanted to bring that up in this episode because I think when it comes to fear of an investment failing, I think we tend to rely on yesterday's accomplishments. We're relying on what we've already done in our business. And I don't know about you, but I find that when I want to grow my business, when I want a different result, I have to do something differently. And a lot of times that involves an investment of, if not money, of my time and energy. So how do we feel the fear and do it anyway? I think it comes down to, logically looking at how profitable is this investment potentially going to be. So that's where we think about ROI. So ROI is return on investment. So you literally calculate that as how much could you potentially get back from the investment divided by how much did you put in. So, the factors that would go into that would be, how much does it cost? How much is it going to cost you to hire the consultant to do the thing? How much is it going to cost you to, get in the coaching program? How much do you want to put into running ads to test that out, right? That's the cost. Then what is the expected return of that thing? Do I reasonably feel if I spend money on ads, I could get 2 more sales? How much are those sales worth? If I hire this consultant, it will save my team 10 hours of time a month, right? How much is that 10 hours worth every month for a year? And then I also want you to factor in the timeline, right? So you may not always get a return immediately. A really good example is when I work with clients who run ads, inevitably they tend to focus on how much sales am I going to get from running this ad today, or not today, but in this week or in this month, right? In the short term. But we don't step back and think about the lifetime value of that customer. So I'll give you an example. I have been running Facebook ads for about a year, and I can't remember the exact number, but I have definitely made well into the 5 figures in sales from these clients. Some clients, actually one of them came from an ad and she booked one of our intensive sessions and then has booked a follow-up, one-on-one call. I have had other clients who came in, they found me, they signed up for our tax package and then upgraded to a CFO service, right? So what's the lifetime value? When I think about the potential return of an investment, I don't want to just think about the short term. I want to think about long-term growth. And if you're not thinking about what is the long-term value of your customers, then go back to the profitable offers lesson. And I gave some tips on, how to design offers that are profitable. And we want to consider, how can we serve customers in the long term, whether that's monthly recurring revenue, whether that's getting them back in later on, following them along their journey, providing the next step, right? How can we increase the value of customers in the long run? The other point I want to make about ROI is that profitability is not just about sales. So let's say I spend $1,000 on ads and somebody buys my tax package for $4,000. The ROI off of the sales number is 4, right? $4,000 divided by 1,000 spend is 4. And that's a pretty good ROI. I would say my minimum ROI goal is going to be at least a return of 3. But here's what I want you to also consider. We touched on this in the profitable offers lesson. This is not a lesson, the profitable offers podcast. We want to look at the gross margin. So when somebody buys a tax package, there is a cost for me associated with serving or providing that tax package. I have to pay my tax accountant to do the tax prep and to do the quarterly tax plan updates and remit the quarterly tax estimates. And currently, I'm in the process of hiring a tax strategist. So I'm going to have to pay a tax strategist to have the meetings, to update the tax plan, to, work with my clients. And so what is the gross profit of that? Let's say the gross profit of that is 70%. And I'm going to go with 75% because that math is easier on the fly. So that would be on a $4,000 sale, that's gross profit of $3,000. So for me, when I look at investments, I really want to look at the actual profitability and not just the sales number. So if I spend $1,000 on ads, I make a $4,000 sale, and I'm going to keep $3,000 of that after I pay my team. That's still an ROI of 3. Like, that's still a good ROI. And then I'm not even factoring in the potential long-term value. So I think maybe in the time I've been doing our tax services, we've had 2 clients potentially who didn't renew after a year. And it was because they were shutting their business down, or like they got married and just went with their husband's accountant or something along those lines. And so our retention rate is very good for our clients. So, getting an ROI of $3,000 gross profit on $1,000 in ad spend, that means I'm netting $2,000 this year in profit. And then next year, when they renew, I'm going to net another $3,000 because I don't have to spend the ads again. They're just going to hopefully renew. Then sales will be $4,000. I'll pay my team, the $1,000 to do the work, and then the profit will be $3,000. So, at a high level, right, how we need to think about what is the return, and then just factor in, like, please make sure to factor in if you have any costs associated with that sale, factor that in. I've just seen clients miss that. And so they run ads and they think like, oh, I made a ton of sales, I'm profitable. But then after they factor in the cost, they're making an incredibly slim margin. And so unless they focus on the long-term value of the customer, the return is not there and the ad spend needs to be turned off. My last sort of tips for assessing the profitability of an investment would just be to make an informed decision. So make sure, number one, avoid what we call mortality events. The wording, that phrase, comes from Tom Bilyeu. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's like a famous entrepreneur. I can't remember. He started like Quest Nutrition, I think. Anyways, he's like all over social media. He calls it mortality events, meaning don't risk it all. If you're making an investment and if that investment fails, and if it fails, your whole business is going to go under, don't do that. Don't put yourself into a potential spot where your business is going to fail, okay? Number 2, don't be afraid to ask questions. So, when I make an investment, like, I want to know, like, how does this work? What questions do I need to ask to get clear on how the investment works so that I can figure out, is this going to help my business? Is this really what I need? Will this help me fix my roadblock that will get me unstuck in my business? Like, what are the details that you need to feel comfortable making that investment? I also always recommend, I must say this in at least half of my podcast episodes, having a good cash cushion in your business, or personally, you might have your savings in a personal account. Just having a cash cushion there so that if your investment does fail, because you will make investments and they will fail at some point. I have done it. I think every business owner does it. Have a cushion so that you bounce back, so you feel more secure going into that investment. And then obviously learn from your mistakes. So we learn from our mistakes by implementing and then monitoring those investments over time. So we can't just start down the path of doing a thing, start down the path of making a new business line, a new offer, or implementing a new process, testing a new marketing strategy. I see this a lot where people will get really excited about stuff up front and then not carry it through all the way to the finish line. So obviously, if you start down the path, you invest some time and some money and you don't carry it through, you're never going to get the return. When things are not exciting anymore, right? When things take longer than you thought they would, you have to have the ability to assess and say, I need to keep going because it's taking longer, but I still see that the end result is possible. Or you have to know when to stop. when to stop investing time or money into this thing. So how do you do that? I think first off, I want you to make sure that you really write down the goal that you are hoping to achieve. So I've called this a hypothesis in past episodes. My friend Lauren Widrick, who's a business coach, she calls it clinical trials. And basically what it is you say, I think if I do X, I will get Y result. If I implement this new marketing strategy, I will get 5 new signups for my program, right? I want you to write these things down so that you can evaluate, was I right or was I wrong? Was my hypothesis correct? Or do I need to tweak it again? I also really, really recommend when you make an investment of money, especially if it's in like multi-$1,000 range, I really like to clearly note those types of things in your accounting software. And the reason for that is I like to be able to clearly separate out my ongoing overhead expenses from my one-time investments. Because I want to know, when I carve out my investments, is my business profitable just based on ongoing sales, the ongoing overhead expenses I have? Am I generating a profit when I only factor that stuff in? And then layering in, okay, this investment made me this much in sales, then I can see the result of my investment. The way I do that, I don't do anything fancy. I literally, recently, I've worked with a business coach or various coaches, right? I will call that out in a separate line item on my P&L so that when I run my P&L, if I want to do some quick spreadsheet math, it is very clearly broken out. I think it's also just really great to be able to see how much you spend on a specific investment over time, like when you look back at the last quarter or the last 12 months. I said a second ago, how do you make the decision of when you should stop making an investment? How do you know it's failing? I think in this case, it can be helpful to have, support, having a mentor, having somebody to bounce ideas off of, because I think when we spend money, especially on things, it can be hard to pull ourselves out of it. So I recently actually had one of our clients who they made a pretty significant investment into a new business line a couple years ago. And after about a year, I said, okay, this is not working as your CFO. This is not really producing the sales that you wanted it to produce. You need to do something different because it's bleeding you money. And they said, okay, we're going to go try new things. And so we had multiple iterations of trying all kinds of different things to get the sales number where they wanted it to be to make that business line profitable. And I was sort of raising the flag, is my view as a CFO, I'm not there to make the decision for you. I'm there to present the data so that you as a CEO can make a decision. I presented the data. This isn't profitable. Right. And it took I'd say about 2.5 years for them to really be okay with cutting their losses and saying, okay, we've tried multiple different things. This is just not working out. We're going to go back to what we're good at. But sometimes things take longer than you think they're going to. So, I have my Millionaire CEO Incubator, and I have been testing out different ways of getting that in front of new audiences and selling it, and what is the right messaging to bring my ideal clients in. Because I think with marketing, it is just a big test of what is it that's going to work to really hit on the right messaging, the right value proposition to bring the ideal clients in. And so I've been testing this out for probably 2 or 3 months at this point, and I'm still iterating on it. I'm still figuring it out. But I'm not letting go of it because I believe so strongly in what I have with the clients I have. I believe strongly that it is an amazing thing for people to come into. And I know that the solution, the right messaging, the right process is close. I know that it's there. Now, if I keep iterating, if I try 2 or 3 or 4 more iterations of messaging, and I have support, I have people helping me do this. If we collectively can't figure it out after, a couple more months, then I'm probably going to have to say, okay, this isn't working. I'm going to scrap this and I'm going to try something else. So all of that is to say, like, there's no rule about when should you let an investment go, but I think you have to really step back. And this is why I think it's so helpful to write down the hypothesis, to write down the goals so that you can step back and evaluate over time, and then also track your spending and say, okay, I wanted to test out, up to $5,000 for this. Have I gotten there yet? Not quite. Okay, maybe we spend a little more, or maybe when I get to $5,000, if I haven't figured it out, that's about my limit for how much I want to spend. I think it also just helps you manage your mindset. Like I've touched on having a mindset of scarcity when it comes to making investments. I think, again, it helps to really get clear on like, what am I going to test? What do I hope to get out of this? To help you, I don't know, just see it from a different perspective and be able to step out of that scarcity mindset. So that is it for profitable investment. So we talked about how to identify investment opportunities, how to identify roadblocks that you need to invest in, how to assess the potential for profitability of an investment, and then some things that I want you to do as you are managing and tracking your investments over time. So I want you to step back and ask yourself, do I want to grow my business? And what is an area that I need to invest in order to get unstuck? Or what is an opportunity that I see if I invested in this area, I might potentially have a really amazing return? So I would love to hear if you have takeaways. Send me a message on Instagram, share this podcast episode in your stories. I love to see when you guys resonate with an episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you back here next week for the fourth and final part of my profitability series. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Now, I want you to go take some action. What's one thing you can do this week to create more profit in your business? Send me a DM on Instagram at YoungCoCFO and share your action item with me. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to dive into, or if you're feeling empowered about taking charge of your finances, let's continue the conversation. Go to profitandprosper.co to submit a question or topic for me to talk about on the show. And because we all profit and prosper better with friends, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe wherever you listen, and share the episode. Make sure you tag me at YoungCoCFO on Instagram so I can give you some love, and I'll see you in the next episode.